Hello and welcome back. My name is India and I happen to read a lot. And today we are going to be talking about my top 5 murder mysteries of the year. I really need to spread out and start doing more genres. But this has been it's not an award. This has been a category of genre that I've been focusing on for some time since I had my blog back in the day. So I've just been a massive fan of murder mysteries. I love murder mysteries in any format, whether that's audio, TV, movie, book, love them. Love a good murder mystery. So I take this time in December to really champion that genre and talk about my favorites. But now I'm thinking about it, I've done a manga and graphic novel one. Really should probably do a fantasy one because that is my other big kind of genre, even that I read. Do you know what I mean? Even though manga and graphic novels isn't a genre. You know what I'm trying to say. But today we're going to be championing and talking all about murder mysteries and the murder mysteries that stood out for me this year. And to start off, in 5th place, we have Till Death by Bisaya Mataluko. This is an amazing YA thriller. This book follows Lara. Lara is on her way to Nigeria to celebrate her cousin's wedding. Her cousin is like an up-and-coming big Nigerian influencer. There is a lot of buzz around the wedding, and she's very excited to be going. She loves her cousin dearly, like her sister, and she's just excited to be amongst family and celebrating love. But it's when she gets to her family's home that she learns that her cousin is being threatened to call off the wedding. And she takes it upon herself as a wannabe criminologist and true crime fan and murder mystery book fan that she is going to take upon herself to figure out who's threatening her and who, what, and why they want her cousin to call off the wedding. This was recommended to me by Elodie. Elodie was one of the members of the Books Guild, the Readers Guild, from the New Adult Prize that I did with The Bookseller, where we all went up to Cheltenham and we were talking about some of our favourites. And Elodie said how much she loved this book, and we went and actually watched Bisaya talk about her book at one of the talks at Cheltenham, and she was incredibly interesting. And after that, I wanted to take her advice and read this, and it was incredible. I haven't read a YA mystery in a very, very long time. I tend to just read a lot of adult mysteries. I actually, in general, don't read that much YA, but a lot of the YA books that I did read this year have made it into my top 10, which is very exciting. But yeah, this was really, really good. It was fun to see a different culture that I don't know too much about. So that was really interesting and really engaging. I found the complicated family dynamics to be both highly entertaining but also highly interesting. As someone who loves character psychology and character behavior, seeing the way they interact with each other was incredibly interesting. Lara is a character that you can't help but just desperately, desperately root for. I think anybody who's like a murder mystery fan can kind of see themselves in Lara in a way. Like, I think if I was in a situation where I was at my cousin's wedding or getting ready for my cousin's wedding and found out that someone was trying to threaten her to cancel the wedding, I would also do what Lara's doing and set up a big kind of like murder board with red string to try and find out what was going on. So I felt that Lara and I and that were very, very similar. The story itself was just really, really entertaining and really, really good. And I think Bisaya had a really good balance of keeping it fun and exciting and fast-paced and not lighthearted in like a oh God, who cares? But lighthearted in its tone for most of the book. Like, it felt very good for the YA audience. You knew exactly who she was writing for. I was having a great time. I was like, this is good. But the entire time I was like, this is a really fun, lighthearted, exciting mystery. I can't wait to see how it ends. And then you get like 75% of the way through the book and you're like, oh, she grabs your heart and just rips it out of your chest in a way that you don't expect it. And that's what I really like about the book is you spend like the first 2/3 thinking, oh, this is a fun, exciting story. It's really, really good, really, really witty, really, really funny. I'm incredibly engaged, love our characters. I'm so, like, the pettiness of the girls and who exes with who and whose ex still likes them, all of that kind of secondary school, college drama. I was like, wow, I haven't read something like this in a really long time. This is really fun. But she's setting you all up then to rip your heart out later in the book. And I don't want to say too much about it because it does tie in very heavily with the spoiler of the rest of the book and why certain things have happened. So I'm not going to say too much. So yeah, it was super fun, very Gossip Girl-esque. And I kind of maybe was just like, oh, okay, it's like a fun little, YA. And then I was like, no, I'm wrong. I am wrong. In 4th place is a book that I actually cannot locate. amongst the mess that is setting my house up for Christmas. And that is The Murder at World's End by Ross Montgomery. So this year was a year of firsts. I went to Cheltenham Literary Festival, invited by the bookseller, which has never happened, through my social media. And then through being a bookseller, I was invited by Penguin to go down to Falmouth in Cornwall and celebrate the upcoming release of this book. I went with my manager. What a road trip. And we went down together to have a meal, some of the best food I've ever had. We got to hear more about the book. At that point, I'd read the book already, so I knew how everything started and ended, but we got to learn more about the series' future and about Ross himself and his processes. And it was just so much fun to be surrounded by booksellers from different stores. So whether you're a big chain or an independent or a small independent like chain of books, it was just so much fun. And I've never been invited to anything like that before. So I was like getting really big imposter syndrome. I was like, what? And then afterwards in the store that I work, we hosted Ross and he was talking all about the book. And at that point, I feel like the book had been out for months because I read it literally probably about half a year before it actually officially came out. But yes, so this has been very much a year of Ross Montgomery for me this year, and it's been an absolute pleasure. And this is a series I can't wait to continue. So Murder at World's End follows Stephen. Stephen is a young lad fresh out of prison who's been offered the job as an under butler in a manor house at the very, very, very end of the country. I think even on an island off the country. And when he's there, you know, fresh out of prison, nobody knew he was actually turning up. That night, the Lord of the Manor says, so the world's ending, because at that point in history, there's a big comet that is meant to be flying over the world. And everybody at that time in history thought that that was a signifier for the end of the world. And he says, the world's ending because this comet's coming. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lock us all in the house. I'm going to any bit where air in this house, whether that is through the windows, through keyholes, through doors, is going to be blocked up. And when the comet destroys the earth, we will be the rulers of the earth, basically. And he does that and he dies. Someone utilizes his absolute absurdity and his absurd thoughts to kill him. And all fingers point to Stephen because he's fresh out of prison and nobody knew he was turning up until that day. So it ends up being that he ends up working with the unlikeliest of people, which is the old matriarch that lives at the top of the house that has been shunned by her family for her ambitions and intelligence, to prove between the two of them that Stephen was not the killer and find out who actually killed the Lord of the Manor. It is by far one of the funniest murder mysteries that I've ever read. The best thing about this book is the dynamic between the young lad and the older lady, because she is a no-nonsense bitch. Like fully, she will call people out on their shit. She's so good. She's incredibly smart. This year really has been the year of female detectives and male sidekicks. No more recently have I read incredibly intelligent men and their male sidekicks. It's incredibly intelligent women and their male sidekicks. And I just love the massive age gap friendship that they have and how he's so kind and well-meaning and has so much heart, and she's just a no-nonsense fucking bitch. She's incredibly smart. There's a lot of conversations about class and about being a woman and an intelligent woman in Victorian England, as that's when it's set. And it was just so good. The mystery was really exciting and thrilling. I loved the setting of this cut-off manor. It's one of my favorite kinds of murder mystery settings. I really liked the side characters. The ending actually shocked me. So I kind of pride myself in being able to guess quite a lot of different things. I didn't guess the ending at all of The Murder at World's End. And I felt like an idiot because it was literally staring at you in your face. But yeah, it was such an incredible, if you want something that's really, really funny, highly researched, also covering a period of history that not many people know about. Like I didn't know anything about this comet that made people in Victorian England think that the world was going to end. Didn't know any of that. I just think it's so much fun. So good. Had the best time. And I think the reason is I just love the dynamic of our two main detectives. I want more of them, please. So in third place, we have The Killer Question by Janice Hallett. It feels right to be back with the murder mystery lists and actually have a Janice Hallett on this page, because last year, Janice Hallett's book did not make it to my top 5. So it feels good. It feels like we're back on form. So The Killer Question follows Sue and Mal Eastwood, who run a pub. I can't remember what it's called. The Case is Altered. It's a pub called The Case is Altered, and they pride themselves on running a really, really good pub quiz, and that people will go out of their way to come to their pub quizzes. But one day they find out that a man that they kicked out of the pub has been found murdered near the pub themselves, and that basically all these police officers are trying to figure out how this man was murdered. Is there more to him than meets the eye, and is their relationship to him more than meets the eye? Alongside that, we also have a hilarious secondary plot point about a group of people who join their pub quiz, and Suamala adamant that they are cheating, and they will go to whatever lengths it is to prove that this group is cheating on their pub quiz. And it's just so funny. I really, really enjoyed this one. When someone said to me it was going to be a murder mystery based on a pub, around a pub quiz, I was incredibly apprehensive. I was like, how can you make a murder mystery out of where the basis of this is a pub quiz? And Janice did it. Janice somehow managed it in a way that was spectacular. There is so much nuance and there are so many different plot points in this book. It's not all set in the present. We also follow some characters in the past. It is incredibly interesting to see how she weaves this very complicated story with multiple threads together, but she does an incredible, incredible job. As you all know, one of my favorite things about Janice Hallett is the fact that she is an epistolary writer. I say this word so many times. I'm trying to find like a good example. It's a lot of text. But basically, she'll write in like emails or texts, and she tells the story through, as originally being a screenwriter, this is how she tells her stories. So it's less prose, it's more dialogue focused, which I really like. But what Janice Hallett has managed to 100% perfect, in my opinion, is narrative voice and dialogue. You can tell the difference between each character just through the dialogue alone. And I think that comes down to her background as a screenwriter. And I got this one signed. So it's a really good one. But yeah, just really, really good. I don't think I'm selling this as well as maybe I sold those other books, but there is so much complicated dynamics and threads in this book that you have to trust me on this and just give it a go. Don't be underwhelmed at the idea of a pub quiz murder mystery. It is incredible. Genuinely incredible. In second place is a book that was incredibly out of my comfort zone this year. One thing that I'm very happy that I did was I tried to read more and more books that I wouldn't normally read. And if you said to me, India, what's the kind of murder mystery that you would avoid the most? That would be kind of detective thrillers, police officer thrillers, sheriff thrillers, those kinds of I'm a down and out detective with a drinking problem and my wife's divorcing me and I can't see my kids. Those kinds of characters. Or I used to be in the army and now I'm a detective. I feel like that works great for TV and for movies, but I never really want that from my books. But loads of my mutuals, again, this was after I met loads of people at Cheltenham, loads of my mutuals are like, if you want a good thriller, but it's dark and you're a fan of Criminal Minds and you want to read a Criminal Minds episode, read All the Sinners Bleed by S.A. Cosby. So I went to Bath, I have a vlog, where I picked this book up based on so many mutuals' recommendations. And this follows Titus. Titus is the first black sheriff in his hometown. On his day-to-day basis, not only is he dealing with crime, he's dealing with racist inhabitants, disillusioned police officers in his own police force that don't really rep him, don't really support him. He's dealing with his own childhood trauma and his own processing of grief and loss, and an awful experience he had that had him leave the FBI and come and work back as a police officer in his hometown. And one day he is on the job and he finds out that the son of one of his good friends has gone into a school and shot the most beloved teacher at the school. When they go to confront him, he mentions a lot of vague things about how the teacher is not who he says he is and you should check his phone. And then one of his police officers shoots the young boy dead. And the young boy is black. So it's an incredibly nuanced story about race, racism, especially in southern states, in small communities. It's about a man who is trying to make a difference in a community that does not want to change, and a community that thinks that they are right in everything, a community that refuses to acknowledge their past. Through this incident at the school, it opens up a can of worms to reveal that there is actually a serial killer that has been amongst the community for years and has gone unnoticed. So Titus takes it upon himself to figure that out. Titus is an incredibly interesting character because on paper, Titus is the kind of character that I'm like, it's not really my thing. Complicated relationship with women, mourning a death he hasn't processed properly, kind of down and out. I'm more like, give me an octogenarian is absolutely batshit insane, rather than a kind of down and out modern day detective. It's not really my thing, but I really, really enjoyed Titus as a character. I thought he was incredibly nuanced. I thought that S.A. Cosby managed to write a very balanced character, a character whose, you know, kind of fatal flaw is both pride and loyalty. Somebody who sees the best in people and will probably work himself to the bone to burnout, under kind of the presumption that people can do well and people can make change, even though he knows deep down that that won't really happen. I think the story, check the fucking trigger warnings, because I was on the bus having to read it like this, like literally like this. I was like, I can't be out here. Hey everybody, see what I'm reading, because the way the demographic of that serial killer is not adults, and I'll leave it at that. Genuinely harrowing, absolutely harrowing. And there was one point with this book where I was like, I don't think I'm going to finish this. I don't think I can finish this. I think it is too upsetting. It is too just gross and awful. But I ended up persevering with it, and it was just such thrilling story watching someone who believes in community, who believes in where he grew up, who says, this is my home. It doesn't matter what racist asses are going to tell me that it's not, because I know that it is, and I will fight for my hometown, which is an incredibly refreshing thing to see, rather than just like, I hate society and I'm going to turn away from it. He chooses and makes the conscious choice to see the potential that his community has and thinking, I can be the change that I want to see in this community. He is not saying, hey guys, love thy neighbor to the racists, which thank God. He is very much, no, this community deserves better and I believe in it. And if I have to take down the rest of a bunch of racists, I will. And I agree. But yeah, it's incredibly good, very harrowing. But it does feel like if you're a fan of Criminal Minds or anything like that, I would highly recommend this. I think you would really enjoy it. It's a weird thing to say due to the content that's in this book. But it's just second place because I've never, ever, ever read anything like this. And I'm glad that I went out of my comfort zone reading something that I knew was probably going to be quite triggering. And finally, we move on to first place, which is 100% on to form with me. And that is a historical mystery that had me nearly sobbing in a random Pret on my lunch break because I couldn't handle how jaw-droppingly shocking the ending was. And that is The Art of a Lie by Laura Shepard Robinson. This is a historical fiction mystery set in Georgian London, and it follows our main character, Hannah, I believe her name is. Set in 1749, and Hannah finds out that her husband has been suspected murdered. He doesn't come home one night, and she's like, oh God, is he okay? Turns out he's dead. He's been murdered. And not only that, when she goes to kind of claim, you know, widow's benefits and his inheritance and all of that, the bank and the lawyers are like, hey, so it's kind of, and the police, hey, it's kind of assumed that he got a lot of his wealth through illegal means. And if we find out that's to be the case, that he found out through illegal means, then you can't have this money. It has to be seized back. And she's like, what the fuck? So I'm going to prove to you that this man has obtained these funds through legal means. She gets the help to find the mystery surrounding her husband's death through a man called William. But their dynamic is a lot more, maybe society wouldn't like the look of where their dynamic is going. And is he exactly who he says he is? We don't know. It is just incredible. I don't think I sold it very well because it's very complicated. And there is a lot in this book that I cannot say. All I want to say is, in this copy at least, read the end of fucking chapter 5 and then you will understand why I legit cannot say anything. I can't say anything whatsoever because it's a major fucking spoiler. This is good. I've read one other Laura Shepard Robinson book in my life, and that was Daughters of Night. And I can't remember when I read this. Around 2021, 2020. And this is also set in Georgian London. It seems to be where Laura Shepard Robinson's historical knowledge is based the most. But this was my favourite book of 2020, I believe, and definitely my favorite murder mystery. So to have a second book of hers be another top 5 murder mystery book, incredible stuff. I am a really big fan of Laura Shepard Robinson's writing. She is able to take a very complicated story with, I mean, if you saw Daughters of Night, with a very big word count and not make it feel slow, have you engage through every single plot point. Her character studies are incredible, and I think we should study her writing. I cannot begin to describe to you much of this book because it's incredible, and I always feel that I find it worse and harder to talk about books that I love. But the psychology and the characters in this is truly commendable. The plot is incredible. As a reader, genuinely, especially near to the end, I was having heart palpitations. My heart was beating incredibly fast, trying to know how this ends and what's going to happen to our characters. The historical period is written so very clearly. I literally can't say anything because the mystery is so tightly woven and intricate that you can't really say anything without unspooling a lot of spoilers. It's just, I can't begin to explain to you. This is so good. The ending will have you sobbing. The ending will literally not, if it doesn't have you sobbing, it will have you like staring at a wall, trying to mentally process this. I genuinely was on the bus when I was reading it, got to a certain point and literally just had to go and stare out the window. And I was in my head going, okay, so with this information, that means that this means this. But what does that mean for this character? And what does that mean for this future? And what does that mean for the rest of the story? And I'm literally in there like processing it, staring out the window. People must have thought I was going insane. Genuinely, one of the best historical fiction mysteries that I've read ever in the history of ever. I would say, and I can't pick between Daughters of Night and this one because they're both incredible, but I would say these still are my favorite historical fictions. If you're not reading Laura Shepherd Robinson, you are genuinely missing out in ways that I cannot begin to describe. Incredible characters, incredible, well-researched setting, plots that have you screaming, so many plot points that are working in tandem with one another, and you're thinking, how the fuck is she going to tie this together? And she does, and well. Oh, she's so good. She's a master of her fucking craft. I just love her book so much. And that's it. I'm very glad we got a very positive video for this one. I am a massive fan of the murder mystery genre. Last year, I didn't think I read enough murder mystery. I'm very happy with the murder mysteries that I read this year. That was one of my goals for the year, was to focus. I was thinking more classic mysteries, but I ended up reading a lot of mysteries in general, and I had such a great time. And I'm very excited for the mysteries that we have in store. A lot of my little challenges and lists don't have many mysteries, so it's going to be something I need to make sure I champion again in 2026. Please like and subscribe and all of that fun stuff. And I'm about to throw on another cardigan and film another video.